people turning up now.
Yeah, Larry. Alrighty, so we're going to kick off now with manufacturing and inventory and managing those two things. Come and join us for a quick chat.
Hey guys, free software here. MIB are sponsoring.
We could do free ice cream. Well, I don't know. Come and grab a seat on your way through. Howdy, we're expecting lots of tough questions from the floor today.
Yeah.
Yep, okay, good.
Sorry, what's that product?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, have you heard of that one before?
No.
No.
I think we're live and on camera.
I actually thought it was vape. I thought it was just a sign.
Oh, no,
sorry.
no.
Is it? Are we really live?
Yes. That's why it says stop broadcasting.
Oh, okay.
Edit that later.
We don't know about this technical stuff, do we?
No. I'm going to say that here.
No.
Besides Jake from Tandra, apparently. Wow, it's definitely a second day of the conference and we are going funny.
I can't quite see the Karen. The crowd's get in the way. I mean, yeah.
Fantastic. Right, moving on. Okay, seems we are recording this live.
It's coming to join us. So.
It's going to join us.
You need to prompt names, companies, who we are.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. That'll work.
Right.
Hey, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us again here at Partner Connect online for the talk about manufacturing and inventory management and all the pieces that go with that. I'm joined by the lovely
Alison Bennett from Mobileasy.
And
Jeff Keith from Development X.
who's all equally lovely, by the way.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Although I didn't put my makeup on today, so.
I'm not even going to answer that one.
You don't need makeup,
It's not
Jeff.
really live.
Yes. Alison, I'm going to throw you to a little bit of a curveball here. What is manufacturing?
Manufacturing is taking raw materials and turning them into a finished product.
Well done. And Jeff, inventory.
Inventory. That's stock, isn't it? Stuff you count, stuff you sell, stuff you buy.
Nice. Excellent. So what are the things, when we look at businesses who do make things, what are the sort of frustrations that they find in their business, Jeff?
Okay, probably the key ones are what it costs to make, right? And what the components, what the recipe is, what the bill of materials to make that product, and tracking the materials to know do I have those materials in stock to make that finished good. So it comes down to costing, it comes down to stock availability. Those are probably key.
When I think manufacturing, I tend to think physical items, hardware, equipment, that sort of thing. But you also do a fair amount of stuff in the food space. Does that fall into that as well?
It certainly does. There's a couple of types of manufacturing, I guess. You've got the discrete manufacturing, you make widgets, make physical chairs, desks, etc. Then you've got the process manufacturing industry, which is your food, beverage, chemical industries. And there's slight differences, and the terminology is different. In fact, when we talk about bills of material, we're talking primarily about making a product, a discrete product. We're talking about the process industry, we're talking about recipes. And we're also talking about revisions and batch control, that sort of thing.
Now, when we talk about manufacturing, of course, it's often pulling multiple things together to make something new. We need to manage that. Alison, how do we go around managing the pieces of inventory they need to make something?
That's a very good question, Kieran. Mobileasy is in itself a manufacturing product. We look after inventory. So when it comes to keeping track of it, I can talk to you about keeping track of inventory. What they tend to do is they store their inventory in stock locations, and then they count it on a regular basis. When they make a material or when they sell a product, they assign the stock item to the transaction, and that decrements their stock levels, and then they go and they count it and they check that their count equals what they've produced.
But is inventory management just finished product, or is it also the pieces that go into a finished product?
Inventory management is both.
Yes.
You need to keep track of both the raw materials and the finished product.
Yeah. Questions for the floor? I need a second to think about the question.
Have you really run out already?
No, one of those moments where my brain went, hang on a second. So when we look at inventory, what are the things that people need to understand about storage of inventory and retrieval of inventory? Alison?
Me?
Yes.
Okay.
Inventory.
Inventory. The sorts of things that you need to look after when you, look at when you're in the storage of inventory. Yeah. Well, I can think about stock locations. I can think about temperatures.
Types of products, I guess, in different warehouses, particularly, if there's quarantine products.
Okay,
so you separate those out into different locations and warehouses. Physical attributes of the product. So there's shelves, obviously, that take, smaller nuts and bolts, and there will be areas in the warehouse that potentially are designated for larger products. So,
Yeah, see where I was going with that was, how do people find their inventory and manage it? I mean, I know you've got great tools for barcode scanning and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Is that just purely from the sale point of view, or is it actually retrieval and finding, and where have I put this, and is it in this warehouse or that warehouse, and how do I understand where all my inventory is?
Okay, so when I talk about stock management or inventory, one thing that I separated into, you've got very, very basic stock management, which is sort of what Mobileasy does for you. Mobileasy will tell you a general location that your stock is found in.
Warehouse 1, warehouse 2.
Exactly, and what quantity and what value the stock is. It might tell you whether some of your stock's in transit at the moment. That's basic inventory tracking. That's what Mobileasy does.
Nice.
Inventory can go a whole lot further, which is where in the warehouse is it, what shelf is it on, who put it there, what's its serial number, what's its bin code, how long has it been sitting there for, is it going to pass its use by date soon?
Absolutely.
So, and that I think is something that Ostendo is more capable of providing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we had a prospect come to us recently, and what they were was a mechanic, a car mechanic, a car wrecker, and they wanted to know what components, the age of the component, where the component was stored, what it was priced at. They wanted to be able to look that up on a computer system and be able to send someone to that part of the warehouse and go pick it up.
And there's more to it than that, I guess. There's also substitution, superstition when you deal with the automotive industry. Yeah. So Part A has been superseded by Part B, which has been superseded by Part C. And absolutely, there's expiry revision tracking. So you can look at inventory as sort of very simplistically, but there's a lot more levels to inventory.
Yeah, exactly. So we just had the guys from the e-commerce space on stage talking about selling the products. Alison, is there a sort of type of customer? You're talking about the smaller space of managed inventory. How important is it for them to know what's available there from a physical sale versus an online sale?
A physical sale versus an online sale, I think they're probably very, very similar in that for an online sale, a customer buying a product wants to know if the product is available now or when it will be available. Yeah. And I think a person that's on site with a customer, with a sales rep, also wants to know the same thing. They want to know, can I have it delivered immediately?
And probably the difference there is if it's a point of sale environment, physical, they've usually got the product. They've picked it up from the shelf. Whereas if it's a web store, e-commerce store, typically then we need the system to tell us whether the product is available. But physically, they're nowhere near that warehouse. So,
yeah. How important is it for people to have mobile tools in this space? I mean, Mobileasy specifically has tools for that. How important has it been for you to move into that area?
Into the area of stock?
Of mobile. Mobile tools for people managing their inventory.
Mobileasy has been doing mobile sales and mobile inventory for 12 or 13 years.
So it's obviously not very important.
So it's absolutely essential to our business.
Yes.
And it's essential to a lot of other businesses. What we find is we talk to customers who are using Docker books. Yep. The way they get their orders back to the office is they often use a phone. So they're actually calling up the office and reading out an order to them, and also asking whether there's stock available. We had a customer recently who this fellow was spending about half an hour after each order ringing the office, checking stock, reading the order out. So the time saving, being able to enter the invoice directly on the road was invaluable to him.
Yeah. So from that point of view, Mobileasy is helping the guys on the road make the sale, know what's there, and finalise that sort of side of things.
Yeah. But it's also helping at the other end, which is the office. office data entry just gets removed because the orders or invoices are imported directly into MYOB.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is really important.
MIB, sorry.
Remember why we're here today.
Jeff, we talked about Estendo being the larger player in that sort of space, doing manufacturing and such like. But you've also started pushing down to the mobile side of things. How important is mobile for you as well?
Yeah, again, I think for the future it's critically important to have the ability to capture data anywhere at any time, right? And I think and I think there's been a big push with cloud, but often the network connection's not available, so actually having the ability to capture the data on a mobile device and then synchronize back with the system anywhere, I think it's becoming more and more important, not only externally but also within factory environments. Where tablets are starting to be used. I think traditionally speaking, there were more PCs and networks and that sort of thing. I think if you look around today, we're very used to wireless, we're very used to tablets, and we're very, very used to smartphones. So definitely, it's a big part of our future.
Well, exactly. And you and I were actually just looking over here at Mobile Easy's counter, which wasn't there with the Bluetooth printer. The fact that there's all this small technology wirelessly enabled to get your dockets, your receipts, your barcodes to stick on, all that sort of stuff.
Absolutely. And I think if we look out into the future, there'll be more of that. And I think the key thing there is capturing that information at the source, getting it back to the system without that double keying.
Exactly.
So whether it's barcodes, whether it's RFID, there's various technologies available to simplify that capture of data.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's all about being able to enter the data at the point of doing
Enter
the work.
it once.
Yeah.
You talked earlier on about, in the manufacturing space, about the recipes and it's a bit of a breakdown around the cost of it. How important is it for the business owner to have that insight deep down into the items I'm buying and the knowledge of what things are costing?
Yeah. Look, again, it's critically important because at the end of the day, if I'm selling a product for $10 and I don't know how much it's costing, and 5 years ago when I put the recipe or the bill of materials together, I worked out that it was $5, so making $5 per widget or per product. If I don't make sure those costs are continuously monitored and rolled up into my finished good, I could be losing money, and I wouldn't know that. And it's also important to know which products or which categories of products are actually making or losing money.
And do you both find that businesses today are more in tune with that and wanting to know more of that information than they were, 4 years ago, 5 years ago?
Yep, certainly are, and I think the global financial crisis had a bit to do with that as well. I think there's a lot of businesses now that are looking at their costs, not so much. I think, typically speaking, when you start a business, it's all about selling. It's about revenue. As you start to grow, it's about the costs and making sure those costs are tracked, and I know what it's costing me to make those products and to sell those products.
Yeah. All right, any questions from the floor?
Easy questions, by the way.
Can you give one great user case scenario, each of you, for a client who either saved a lot of money or time?
Sorry?
You can go first, Jeff, while I think of
user example from each of you of someone saving money by using your product.
You're talking to a developer here.
You also run business, right?
That's true. Right.
Allison's going first. Well, you have a moment to think.
Oh, am I? Okay. I'm trying to think of a good one. If we relate it just to stock, okay. I can think of a recent customer of ours who's a fertilizer. They sell fertilizer to farms, like banana plantations and those sorts of things. They bought the product about 6 months ago. At the time, they weren't using an accounting system. They weren't using any sort of stock tracking system. The customer had no idea where any of the stock was, didn't know whether they were losing it, couldn't get orders out to her customers on time because the sales rep would sell things that they didn't even have. She implemented, over a period of 6 months, she re-implemented MYOB. She's implemented Mobile Easy, and now she knows where her stock is. She knows what her sales reps are selling. She knows that she can provide product directly to her customers when they ask for it.
So saving her time, you know more about the financial position of the business.
And for her, it's also about stress management. And I know that's not dollar values, but her stress levels from 6 months ago have decreased dramatically because she actually feels in control of what's going on in her business.
Fantastic. Getting back to being a business owner because you love the business rather than the books.
Yeah, exactly.
Jeff,
Yeah.
you had time?
As I was thinking there, I did think of a company, and we've had a few of these, and probably something we haven't raised is the accreditation side of businesses, right? So particularly in the food and beverage and the process industries, we've had a number of companies that have taken Stendo on board, particularly, as I said, in that food and beverage industry, where they've actually had to go through that accreditation process. And Stendo, because of the audit trails, the management of the recipes, etc., they've pointed to the fact that because of Stendo, they've actually been able to get that accreditation. But without the product, without having typically speaking, when they're moving from a paper-based system, it's very hard to go through that process. So not only do we companies that obviously, by putting in place a product like Stendo, there's the knowing what the costs are, but I think it's also very important to know that there is a process and we can trace things back. So if there's a recall or a problem, it's actually, the information is readily available.
Yes, fantastic. Excellent question. Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the floor? No? All right. Well, thank you, guys. Sorry that I completely butchered the start of this one.
No problem.
More coughing already.
You did that last time as well, Kim. Sorry.
Yeah, really? Wow. Okay. On that lovely note, see ya. The links for these two are not below, but they are. The links for these guys are below, and for those of you here, this is just over the side here. Thank you guys very much for sharing your knowledge and putting up with me this afternoon.
Okay,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Karen.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.